Welcome back to another Not a Strong Start with filmmakers who talk about movies, television, and geriatric archaeologists who should probably go back to sleep.
Yes.
I will be your host today. Indy was the dog's name.
I am not your host, Sala. I'm the Sala of the episode.
And I'm a special guest, Wairika Hayes, aka Kush.
The Kush.
The
Kush that hits.
All right. Well, if you guys haven't guessed it by our names, we are going to be talking about The Dial of Destiny. It's our most recent and hopeful final Indiana Jones flick, which is starring Harrison Ford reprising his role as Indy. And he is now joined by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who we play in the character of Helena. Oddly enough, we do not have Spielberg in the reins this time. We have James Mangold, who is a phenomenal director. But the question is, was it phenomenal enough for all three of us? Now, before we get into it, I'm really curious, what is everyone's relationship with the Indiana Jones franchise? Let's start with you, Kush.
So I've seen all the Indiana Jones films. Raiders, I was a little too young for when it was in the theaters, but I've seen it plenty of times on video and cable. Temple of Doom, all the time on VHS and on HBO or whatever. And then it finally went away. But Temple of Doom was that film that everybody hated. Like it was the black sheep of the Indiana Jones. And then the Last Crusade, I think, is most people's favorite. It's Raiders of the Lost Ark, polished up with a lot better bits in it. And Sean Connery is there too. And then that should have been it, you know. And then I blame Kingdom of the Crystal Skull not on Spielberg, but on the fans. Like, you want to do more Indiana Jones movies? Let's do more Indiana Jones movies. I've been saying this for 20 years now. However, Harrison Ford, I was under the impression he didn't want to do this anymore. Unearthed archives are telling me differently, but we could have had anyone be Indiana Jones. I mean, Brendan Fraser had to do The Mummy eventually, but he could have been Indiana Jones. You know what I'm saying? I think the people are to blame for these last two films, and that's my stance on it. Having said that, though, I didn't hate this. And that's weird. That's the nicest thing I can say about it. I didn't hate it.
All right, how about you, Dan?
Fair enough. Yeah, I grew up a huge Indiana Jones fan. I love the original trilogy. I read a few of the books. I played the computer games that were out, like The Fate of Atlantis. Like, they had really good storylines. So I was hoping we were going to get something like that. I know when they were coming out with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, it was a possibility they were going to do The Fate of Atlantis, which would have been really cool. I wish they would have. Because the version that we got, not what I necessarily wanted. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So I kind of blame George Lucas for that as well, because he wanted aliens in this franchise, which makes no sense. And my biggest gripe with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I know, maybe we'll go through each of the movies, but you set up Catholicism and then you negate that by going with extraterrestrial. So it just seemed so out of place with what they did with this. But having said that, with the Dial of Destiny, which, why isn't it called the Dial of Time? Why Destiny? I don't know. We can sit here and kind of argue.
Oh, I can answer that.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, when you watch, I guess, before we even get into any further, ridiculous spoilers ahead.
Let's get right into it.
Let's just say that.
Let's crack right into that one.
I guess to answer the Destiny aspect, when they get to Archimedes' tomb and you see the body, what's on his arm? It's the watch that belonged to the doctor. So that right there told us it was their destiny to always do this moment. It was going to happen no matter what. So that's the Destiny aspect.
I'll allow
it.
Yeah. So you knew they were going to come back. You knew that this guy was going to go over there. It kind of gave everything away at that one moment.
It did. So when I watched this one, in a weird way, because I was part of the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, was awful. It was unwatchable. I hadn't seen it in a long time. I watched the new one and I felt the desire to go back and watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And I enjoyed it more because of the newest one. I'll kind of put it that way. Doesn't mean I loved it. But it was more enjoyable. And, when we start to describe why, I'll explain my reason.
I'll say for me, I've always grown up believing there are 3 Indiana Jones films and a TV show. Yeah. And that's all I had. I remember going to the theaters to watch Last Crusade, yeah. As someone who loved also just 007 films and Sean Connery's My James Bond. So and the fact that this movie, in the beginning, I think when Lucas and Spielberg were talking about it, they saw it as a James Bond type film, just with history. And so to have the man who is the OG be a part of it and be his dad, it's like, oh, this is the best. Like you said, it is one of the ones that is loved the most. I do love that one. I just rewatched again last night just to have something fresh in my heart as we come into this episode. And I felt it was fitting too. So like, just to compare like the 3 films where each one was supposed to be the last. You know, The Last Crusade had the word last in it. This is it. This is the end.
Rode off into the sunset.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was so for me, that was dear to my heart. When Crystal Skull came out, I didn't even watch it because the trailer looked bad, and I was like, this looks like crap. I don't want to tarnish the memories. I'm gonna keep it as it was. So I didn't watch it. Then I watched this movie because content. I did it for you guys. I was not gonna watch this movie either. I was not
I appreciate it.
Yeah, but after watching, it's like, well, now I gotta watch Crystal Skull. So, like Dan, I watched it again, or not again, but for the first time. That's the day after, and you know what? I didn't hate the Crystal Skull. I was like, oh wow, this actually isn't that bad. I may have felt different if I watched it when it first came out, but since I watched it after watching this one, I was like, oh, you know what? There's some things in this where it's like, oh, this is still Indiana Jones. I think that's because Spielberg was still there. Taking out Spielberg, I think you lose a little bit of that magic of the character and the ambiance of that world.
The worst thing about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is it looks like a video game because they're trying to force the newest technology that is only in beta testing still. Like everything is clearly on a green screen. Having said that, I went back last night to watch Raiders and Temple of Doom for the first time in decades that I sat through the entire thing. You pick it up here and there on USA or whatever. Temple of Doom does not hold up visually, especially not in 4K. Like it's like watching cartoons happening, and that can be fun too. You're just like, wow, this could have used a touch up, a little polish, if you will.
Yeah, I will say, watching the older films, if you're watching in 4K or restoration, some of those stop motion parts of it and the miniatures are definitely going to show a lot more.
Yeah,
that's why I prefer not to watch it like that. I want to watch the original version, so it's still grainy. The graininess helps kind of distort those things, so you can really feel that's all happening for real.
Yeah, it does, and it's supposed to be, right? Because it's sort of like that pop kind of, even what they were going for Indiana Jones, that type of character, it kind of needs the graininess. I haven't personally seen it in 4K because I just watched Temple of Doom maybe about a couple of days ago, and the whole mine when they're in the mines,
the puppets,
it's so obvious. Yeah, that I really don't want to see it in 4K because it's only going to make it that much more obvious. So
the mine scene still holds up. The roller coaster ride, that still holds up. When they finally get out of the box cars and the water is rushing after, and they have to like climb outside the mountain and just breaking through the wall. That's when it's at its most egregious throughout the entire film. Those are the special effects that don't hold up. They're clearly like standing on a green ledge, and they're matted in, and
his shadows,
again on VHS,
the shadows
that should look real.
Like, yeah, dude.
By the way, I'm terrible about stuff like this. Like my eyes do not see what you filmmakers see, and I'm just like, oh, this is awful.
I think the thing for me, like watching those things again, and I'm probably more forgiving, is just at least it's all real. I like that it's real. You know, it's like it's tangible items. You know, you go into, like you mentioned, the Crystal Skull and all the special effects. I felt that. I felt all the special effects that were happening when they're having their chase scene on the cliff. I never felt the peril that was there as compared to, let's say, The Last Crusade, where he has that tank scene. Now the tank is not going like 100 miles per hour, but it's going just fast enough where you feel like, oh, Indy might get crushed right now, either by going into the side of the mountain or that big chunk that's coming head on. Like he has a chance of death. I never felt that in Crystal Skull, where it's just like, all right, you guys are obviously in a room right now. You know, you got your boy swinging on some vines. You know, it's like, I believe all this is happening. You know?
You're right about that, because it's like the little tiny details, like the flecks of the dirt kind of coming up on the tank, right? It's the little things to provide to you that it's a real environment. That was my biggest complaint about Jurassic World. Like when we started getting those and they went really, really digitized dinosaurs, it just became like, I don't believe shit from this movie anymore. Like, this is so bad. I hate it when we've gone such to a digital age now, where like we even talked about like Ant-Man and the Quantum, you know, like you see how unrealistic it feels, cartoonish. It really feels cartoonish. It feels kind of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You know what I mean? And it's just,
And
it
even
takes
that
me,
feels more real.
yeah, exactly. But
Yes.
it takes me, because
Yes.
it's intended, right? But like it takes me out of the perils of what's going on. And Indiana Jones to me was not that. It's supposed to be practical effects. It's supposed to be a practical environment, which is what we loved about it. But I'm one of those viewers that I can sort of compartmentalize films. So even though 4 and 5 exist of Indiana Jones, I can still go back to the original and not feel like I necessarily lost anything. I just really hated that they gave us a 4 and a 5. I really wish they didn't give us that, but it is what it is. You know, I can still go back and rewatch and appreciate the originals.
Now I know we haven't gotten into the actual part 5 yet. That ending is wildly unsatisfying to me, and yet everything I'm seeing on Facebook is just like it was nostalgic and poetic, and it gave me true closure here. And I felt like we did it, guys. We got there. And I was like, no. Like, we need to know how we got there. Right? I know we've done spoilers, and I don't think this spoils anything still. Like, we go from a hard black and then fade back out, and like days have passed, and all of a sudden, like, it's just like, yeah, don't worry, we got there. It's all right. Oh, here's Marion. And at
Out of
that point, I was
nowhere.
like, oh, we have to fix all this. Like, there's probably still another hour in this movie we gotta deal with. Like, we need to at least not, if not know how we got back here, like fix how we got back here, because there's definitely problems. She's not supposed to be here. We've set up the whole movie that she hates this man, and anyway.
It was definitely one of those moments where it's like, guys, we're running out of time here. Wrap it up.
Mhm.
Give him a quick happy ending. Give him a quick happy ending. That's what it felt like.
I'm a big critic of run times these days. I can say, like, cut out anywhere from 5 minutes to, like, if we're talking about the Batman, cut out a full hour. Okay. But in this one, like, I knew it was 2.5 hours, but when we irised out, at first, like, we're not ending it like this. Oh, we are ending it like this. Holy shit. Like, no, I could have swore we got another hour to go here. I'm not saying I didn't feel the runtime, but I was like, this movie is incomplete. We there's something not right. That's the kids go out for ice cream and we iris out on the hat. Nah, nah.
Yeah, that was so dumb, and it felt like there was just too many set pieces. Like there was too many major action sequences. Like it was 2.5 hours, which I believe is the longest indie movie we've ever had.
Yep,
it was
true.
Unnecessarily long. Like it needs to be 2 hours. And I know we're gonna get into this, but my God, are we done with getting our heroes and making them crusty old people that just hate the world and this bitter self? Like I'm so sick of doing this. Like Logan is the only movie I can think of that did it pretty well. They just butchered it with Star Wars. They're doing it again with Indy, and it's so hard to see our heroes like this. And I get they're going for like that dramatic, appeal with him, where with the loss of, now we're going super spoiler, but with the loss of his son, it's a good heartfelt moment. You feel the tragedy of his character, but then to see him at the very end, like you said, they're just rushing Marion. And all of a sudden, look, he's happy again. It's like, no, he wasn't. I saw him for 2 hours and 25 minutes, and he was not happy to the point where he was willing to stay in the end. No, he wasn't happy. And all of a sudden, the last, she gives him a kiss. She mentions a kiss on the elbow, and all of a sudden, hey, he forgot about it again. He's good. And even though she was so depressed that it led to their separation, she didn't look very depressed when she showed up. Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah,
It
one of the
brought
things
up
that kind of bugged me is specifically it's Harrison Ford's character. You mentioned Star Wars. Harrison Ford is Han Solo. Han Solo had a great arc in Star Wars, the original trilogy. He had that self-realization of like, oh, I'm not a scoundrel, I'm a hero, and I have a family that I've built, and he wants to start this new life now. Like you get the sense like he's, after that's all done, he's gonna become a general. He's not gonna stay doing all that stuff that he was doing before. He's gonna join the resistance and be a part of that. But for some reason, no, I'm gonna go back to just stealing and selling junk and stuff with my boy, and I have a wife and a kid. Forget them, whatever. Like they just ruin who he is. Like he becomes just a bad dad, And then what happens in Indiana Jones? He just becomes a bad husband. And it doesn't make any sense. It's like why are we killing his two most important characters that made his career? It just blows my mind. It's like this isn't an honoring of a hero. This is just breaking him down.
And it's
And
too
just
damn relatable, George. It's too damn relatable to me with his bad father. I don't need to see this. I want something that I don't have, good sir. Show me something good here. Don't kill my iconic characters.
seriously, and especially like with Indy and talk about like the Last Crusade, he had a bad dad, a quote unquote bad dad, how he felt. But within that movie, they have closure. They have a reconciliation. You figure from that, he's going to learn, well, I don't want to be like my dad. I'm going to be there for my son. Especially when you watch Crystal Skull. He didn't even know he had a kid. So now all of a sudden he knows he has a kid. You think he's going to be there and catch up on the old times, you know? But it's like, no, well, since Shia LaBeouf is a problem and we don't like him anymore, let's just kill his character instead of recasting him. And then we're just going to make him a bad dad and a bad husband. Because that's how we'll fix everything.
I'm gonna interject here. Go based on what you said. Like he now knows he has a son. He wants to be a better father than his father was to him, and I think he tried to do that. In fact, the only limited dialogue we get about his relationship with Mutt, he's like, "Don't go to the military, boy. People are dying. War is real. I've been there." And Mutt is such a rebellious. He's like, "I'm going to serve my country and do it the best I can." Oh my God, I've just been fragged.
But you know what?
They put that squarely in Mutt's hands for his death.
Turn, that made me feel like they did a disservice to Mutt's character because, like you said, he's rebellious. He didn't seem like he'd be the one to be following the country's ways. Like he seemed like he was a greaser. Like greasers didn't want to go to the war; they want to stay at home having fun. You know, I saw him going on adventures, but not necessarily going to war because Indy fought for the war. Like we get told that Indy has a bunch of medals and everything. Like he was essentially a soldier. So I don't see him following that exact route. You know, I see him more doing the archaeology adventure kind of stuff. That was one of the big
very
things.
Against character for what we learned
all
about
of them.
Mutt.
Yeah. But you know what? We're gonna say a lot of things I'm pretty sure that are bad on this movie. I feel like we should say something nice, at least, especially since Kush, you said you actually didn't hate the movie. So
I didn't hate the movie. It's peaks and valleys. It's a lot of this the entire time for me. Okay. Again, I didn't want the movie, but I actually like crusty ass Indiana Jones at 80 years old, who, by the day that man has landed on the moon, he's like, "Shut up, you hippies. It's 8 in the morning. I'm trying to sleep." Like, I like that. Maybe that's me. I don't know. But, you know, then we get into like Phoebe Waller-Bridgerton, or whatever her name is. I don't know anything about
that's
the
it. That's her name woman, now.
But
Phoebe Waller-Bridgerton.
Phoebe. You're a big fat Phoebe.
Phoebe. Yeah.
Her character sucks. Okay. And I'm all about like, yeah, she's a backstabber and she two-faces the two faces, but it is just so inconsistent and never helps move the plot along. And it's an unnecessary obstacle. She's worse than the chick from Temple of Doom, honestly.
I didn't hate the movie either. I feel like it's watchable. It's one that I'll go back and watch sometimes, not nearly as much as the original trilogy, but the reason why I say with part 4 helping me part 5 is because the first trilogy exists as they are. When I go to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, it's so jarring to see Indiana Jones in this 50s kind of era. It looked weird, the bright colors, like they did pastel colors, you know, when he's in that fake town with the nuclear bomb or whatever that they're dropping. It felt so jarring. In this one, I felt like they kind of blended him a little better, at least from like a color palette. He didn't look so jarring, even though I know they were going like he's out of his time, which is already what they did in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where it's like Indy's out of his time. I felt like they blended it a little better. I love that they gave us the opening scene. I thought was pretty cool. I liked it. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull didn't give us young Indy. It was just, you know, him, like older Indy already. This one still gave us a last final adventure, even though they did the de-aging and, you know, people are all over the place in terms of, does it look real? Does it not? You know, they have their complaints about it, but we got at least a classic final Indy scene in the beginning. So I appreciate that, man. And overall, I mean, you know, it has some good stuff to it. I mean, there's some bad stuff to it as well, but they did touch a little more on the emotional side of it. And in the first 2 Indy movies, they didn't really go deep with his character. Last Crusade, they really started to once they introduced his father. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, you saw that they really went into it. And with this movie, they went more with the emotional character. They didn't make him more of like a bland character like the way 007 was. You know, it's like, okay, he's a super agent, but we don't really know much about his personal life. It feels like they really started tackling the personal life with that. And I thought Mangold brought some good energy to it. he was definitely missing some Spielberg-esque with this, but we'll go into the cons about that. But overall, I mean, it's enjoyable.
Question mark.
Yeah, shrug.
Yeah, I gotta say for me, so I watched this with my wife. My wife isn't like a big movie buff like the rest of us are. She'll watch these things with me, and she's seen the old films, but like she was a kid, so she doesn't remember them the way we remember them.
Right.
And she didn't watch Crystal Skull. I think she's only actually watched one indie film, to be honest. So it's vague which one it is. She knows clips like everyone does. You know, she's like, I think Sean Connery was there. I don't know. She's like, I remember there was stuff happening and there was a bullwhip and it's a fun time. It's like, yeah, that's okay. You get the premise. But we watched this together and she actually kind of almost loved it. Like she really enjoyed this film. And so I think having her energy near me helped me enjoy the film a bit.
Nice.
And like there's some funny moments. I think that's what it has. It has some clever funny moments at times. And like the opening scene, I actually was someone who didn't mind the de-aging. I thought they actually did it. It's probably some of the best de-aging that Disney's done yet, in my opinion. There are some quick moments where you can see it's a little off, but the moments where the camera is on him and it's steady, I think it's pretty solid. You know, and I thoroughly enjoyed those things.
I think the de-aging is also enhanced by the fact they covered him a lot in shadow. There's
a
lot of shadow going on.
That's how you got to do it. You got to be smart about it.
My only problem with the de-aging isn't Harrison Ford's face. It's the rope around his neck, and that looks cartoony like X-Men Origins Wolverine's claws in the bathroom. I don't know why I focused on that the entire time. It was like, that doesn't look like a real rope. They could have just had a rope around his neck. Like it's we don't have to actually lynch Harrison Ford, but like put a rope around his neck. No, it's very Roger Rabbit cartoony.
Yeah. I suspect that they probably had a rope on the actual like double there, and probably when they were comping the face in, they probably had to take it out. Yeah. You know, because things happen once the head's moving around, and they gotta like put things over and everything. So things happen.
I just want to give a quick thought about the de-aging before you move on, George. But I liked it. It didn't bother me too much. I'm in the mindset of like how Jurassic Park 1 came out, right? And we saw the dinosaurs, but sometimes you see some of them like the Brachiosaurus when you see them and it looks so obviously bad CGI, but then when you get the T-Rex, it looks awesome. We're just stuck with the technology we have. Like the de-aging, they haven't mastered the de-aging yet. Like we're not there yet. So this is as best as it possibly could have been. So it doesn't bother me to that extent. You know, I can really look at a film and saying they're working with the tech that they have. You know, they're still conveying the story that they need. I can kind of look past it a little bit. So it didn't bother me that much.
Yeah, same. Exactly that. I would say I wish they de-aged his voice though. I mean, that's technology we have. We actually have great audio technology in this day and age. The fact they couldn't de-age his voice with either AI or heck, get a voice impersonator. You know,
I mean, and there was literally hundreds of hours of his audio out there.
Yeah, it's like, come on, guys. You could that's where you could have done better. I mean, heck, how great would it have been if they got Mark Hamill just to come in and do his voice? Mark Hamill could do a young Harrison Ford voice.
Or have him do it as a Joker. That would have been awesome, doing his lines like, this doesn't make any sense, but I don't need it to make sense. This is awesome.
I mean, there's plenty of positives in this. Like
there are.
There's a lot of twists and turns. You think this movie is going one place and then it goes to another. Before we get to Archimedes, and we're deep into the movie at this point, I'm sorry. But at one point, an objective comes up where we're like, guys, we have to save Hitler from Mads Mikkelsen. Holy shit. Like at this point, I was like, really? Are we going there? Like Mads Mikkelsen's whole point, we finally get the reveal, is he's going to go back in time. He's going to kill Hitler. And it's unclear to me if he's going to just identity swap with him or just be like, now I'm the Fuhrer, Mads Mikkelsen. Follow me, everybody. At one point in time, we're supposed to save Hitler. And then we end up in 200 BC and Archimedes is there. Like, are we sure this is Archimedes? Like it looks like a fat, greasy Italian guy. I don't know. I just got you guys canceled.
I'm sure we already did that, Kush. We did that long ago. We're good. Yeah. I liked Mikkelsen in this, man. He plays such a great villain. He did good. You know, I liked him in this. Okay, so I didn't hate the Teddy character.
What is he bad in though?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's no bad actors in this film.
No. I didn't hate the Teddy character, and I know some people did. I wouldn't say I necessarily loved his character, but I love the fact that they gave him that little character moment where he's sitting down and he's watching the little kids, you know, and he realizes he can't be normal in a sense, and the kids mock him for his hat, you know, and he ends up, you know, robbing them later for the ice cream. I like that moment. We never really got a moment like that with Short Round, or we got any background of his character. We don't know really where he came from, right? I mean, we know he worked with Indy a little bit.
He Indiana Jones met him because Short Round was picking his pocket. I learned this last night. And then he was like, all right, come with me, kid. His family was killed by the Japanese during the invasion of Saigon and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. They tried to actually mimic this their connection the way they did with these two. Teddy and Helena were supposed to be the new Short Round and Indy.
Yeah.
Which was hard for me to get behind because like you guys are just copy pasting, but in a bad way.
Yeah.
In a bad
it did. And the fact that this kid knew how to like fly the airplane, that bothered me so much because you can't just figure this out.
He had paper constructs. If you have paper constructs, that's all you need. That's
clearly.
There's a line of dialogue where Helena goes, "You see that plane over there? Can you fly that?" It's like, I've never flown that plane before. There's only two people in this conversation, by the way. So she replies, "You've never flown a plane before. Bitch, you gave him the idea to fly the plane, that he could possibly fly the plane. And now you're saying you've never flown a plane before?" It's the folks that wrote this. James Mangold's got a hand in this. There's two people named Butterworth. And then David Coop, who actually has he's got a lot of scripts under his name, but that's some cringy dialogue. We're like, you think you can fly that? I've never flown that plane before. You've never flown a plane before. Did we just do a circle here? God damn it. Like,
who's on first?
Who's on first? Thank you. What's on second? I don't know. Third base. God bless you. I love that you know that.
Yeah.
Which I think that's the big thing for me. It's like I said, actors aren't the problem. Actors were fine in this. It's just the writers. For me, I felt the writers didn't know the characters. That was a big problem for me, especially for Indiana Jones. At this point, we're in 5 films, and this man still doesn't believe in anything. Like he doesn't believe in magic.
Yeah, you're right.
He doesn't believe in aliens. He doesn't like. You've seen some stuff.
I've seen a lot of things in my
and yet
day, but
you can't fathom that time travel's possible. You know, and like Dan, you brought up that there's books, there's video games. He's gone through a lot of stuff in his life. At this point, you got to stop being either it's fact or I don't believe it. You know, it's like you should be skeptical at this point. But it's like no, he's still a non-believer.
Based on only the 5 movies he's seen some spectacular shit. A man
and he
tried to pull his
it.
heart out of his chest. While he kept his eyes closed, there were Nazis here 1 minute, and then they were all melted a second later. Like he resurrected his dad's gunshot wound. Like this man has seen some shit. Aliens. The guy saw aliens. Okay, and he's like, I don't believe in magic, but I've seen some shit. I've seen some stuff. I don't believe in it.
The Grail Knight lived for thousands of years. like clearly, and you're gonna say time travel doesn't exist? Like, come on, man. That's what I'm talking about. There's moments like that where I'm just like, why? Like, why is he going back against what he's seen? That it means that those movies weren't impactful towards him because they didn't change how he felt. His character never developed or evolved. Like,
he devolved. He went backwards. It didn't make sense.
Yeah,
stuff like that. There's even a moment, and my wife pointed this out to me because it happens so quickly. It's when they get to they're going to the tomb of Archimedes, and they cross that little wooden bridge. Do you remember that? It's like over a little creek or whatever, and it looks fragile as hell, and it is because eventually that bridge breaks.
Yeah,
and so there's only one bridge. We've seen there's only one path to go back and forth. When they're escaping that area, they run over the bridge that is all of a sudden intact, as if it was never destroyed. Yeah. Dang. And this carries on from Crystal Skull because Crystal Skull had a moment just like that when they were going and finding like that crypt tomb area where they first find the Crystal Skull, because they're the second people to be there. They're like, someone's been here before us, but yet there's so many cobwebs there. No one should have been there before you. How is someone there before you the day beforehand or that day when there's all these cobwebs? The doorway is still closed. You're obviously the first person here, but yet somehow they're the second people. It's like, who's writing this and not realizing what they're reading? What, like not one person was just like, hey guys, something's wrong here.
There's a continuity manager on set who's falling behind on this. But
Yeah.
also, they probably just like, what if we did this? Look, we're going to film this scene later, but what if we did this? You guys just got to run across the bridge right now. Just second AD, we're just picking up the shot. Just run across the bridge. All right, we got it. All right, now we're getting. Oh shit, the bridge just fell. No one's getting. No one's getting. Don't worry.
We'll fix it in post.
Only George
never happens.
The famous.
Too busy de-aging Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Boyd Holbrook, he's pretty great and everything, but he's underutilized in this. Like, he should be a better Nazi, and he's just kind of there.
Yeah.
Like, anyone could have been there. Chris Jericho could have been there and been just an equally efficient Nazi.
Yeah, they made him so one-dimensional, which I guess some of the characters are, I guess, but it's just I want a little bit of depth.
Yeah, I didn't get the sense that he was even a Nazi per se.
No,
He felt just like a run-of-the-mill henchman.
yeah,
like he was a killer. That's what he
just-
was. He was a killer.
Yeah.
He was
He's happy to don that Nazi uniform, though. He's like, yeah, I can't. Been waiting for this all day. Look, got my little armband there and everything. Woo!
I mean, in all fairness, the Nazis had good style. You know, their fashion was on point.
There are major designers out in the world today that clothed the Nazis in World War II.
Yeah.
I forget their names because I don't follow that shit. But still,
yes.
yes.
They're there. They exist.
Well-dressed Nazis. You're well-dressed.
I will say something for me that stuck out for the film, and this was the most unrealistic thing in the whole film for me for a movie that's about unrealism. The black lady who was a CIA agent. I don't know how it was for anyone else. It's just like, wait, we're in the 1960s, right? There was barely any females in the CIA. Like, they just joined the CIA probably 20 years prior. I don't think there would have been a black lady that high up taking care of Nazis as an undercover thing. Like, I don't see it, because she's like the leader of this operation.
And she would have stuck out, right? Because she's trying to do like undercover
You're not
stuff.
blending in. You're not.
She would stick out. Throwing it out there. Yeah, I felt the same way, man.
Definitely
with her character,
sticking out in segregated America.
Yeah, and like her dialogue was so like cringe. Like, it was so like, who wrote this? Did they write this in the 1960s? That's what it felt.
A black person definitely didn't write her lines, but I still cackled like a bastard when she called Boyd Holbrook a cracker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. So the Dial of Destiny, what the biggest thing that it lacked for me was the comedy. It didn't have the comedy quirks, and that's why when I went back to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I kind of appreciated it a little more, because it had the Spielberg comedy that the originals did, where Harrison Ford, or at least Indy, looks like he's still having a little bit of joy. Like, he'll say like a little line, or they kind of set up certain things where he's talking about, you know, punching his buddy in the nose. Like, as soon as I'm not handcuffed here, I'm gonna break your nose. As soon as he does, I told you, I warned you. We didn't get any of that in this movie. They tried it with Phoebe. They tried it with her.
Yeah.
But like, she's not as likable. Like, I don't like her character. You know what I mean? So, but with Indy, we didn't get any of that. He just seemed like he was lacking any kind of humor. And you can say, oh, well, you know, with the death of his son, okay, but that's not the Indy I want to see. Like, I love Indiana Jones because he's got that offsetting where he has his plan and doesn't quite work out, but he's so lucky in a certain way that it still ends up working out for him. It's sort of like the unconditional, uncoordinated, but it's still happening, you know, as he's still able to overcome the Nazis. We didn't get that with this one. And it really lacked comedy. That was my biggest complaint about Dial of Destiny.
I mean, there's no fun in seeing your grandpa get assaulted by Nazis repeatedly, and that movie delivers. Every 5 minutes, he's getting punched in the face. He's punching him back, and he's getting more one-punch knockouts than Run DMC, okay? But you don't want to see your grandpa get assaulted, especially by Nazis, and that's this movie. The entire 2.5-hour run. Especially by Phoebe.
Everyone
Bridger
kicks
Walton,
him down. Everyone kicks him down, even his partner.
His goddaughter knocks him out for at least 4 days, 3 days, being generous. Like, again, going back to the final scene where like we're in Italy, we're in Rome, 200 BC, and he's like, I want to stay here. There's nothing left for me back there. You're like, all right, you should stay here then. Like, I figure like he's gonna be Archimedes. You know, he's going to be the guy with the wristwatch in the tomb. You know, no, she knocks him out. And then, like, we wake up and we're back in Brooklyn or Manhattan or wherever we're supposed to be. But like, there's also like, get us back there, short round 2. Like she plane is being torn apart. Tear apart, damn it. We gotta get back to the vortex. Like
Yeah.
we get none of this. That's my biggest complaint is not knowing how we get home. They're just like, yeah, don't worry about this.
Yeah, and he didn't solve nearly as many of the riddles. It was just all her running the show, and he was just sort of like a background secondary character just watching her. That annoyed the piss out of me because this isn't her movie. This is his movie. Indy is supposed to be really smart, and we see him solving this, and he wasn't solving it. He was just kind of watching her, and even when she was kind of giving away the the
stone,
yeah, but also letting Mickelson know about it. She's kind of staring at him like, really? When you see her grabbing the dynamite and coming with it, he's just sitting back, just completely like, oh, well, I'm falling for it too. And it's like, come on, man. Come on, Indy.
That's actually one of the things in my notes is that a big problem I have is that this whole movie actually just walks you through everything and just tells you everything. While rewatching the other Indy films, he'll have moments like that where there's a conundrum in front of them, like Last Crusade. They have to solve the riddles to move forward. You see him putting the pieces together.
Spelled with a J.
Oh. Yeah. Even Crystal Skull still kind of had it. There's a moment with him and Mutt where they're trying to decipher this little code that the guy had sent them. He's reading a book. Like, he has a book on the side. He's putting the pieces together. He's solving it with us. And Mutt, who is our views, point of this movie, we're seeing it through his eyes, like, oh, this is how we figure this out. You're showing us how to figure it out. We never got that in this movie. It's just like, here's the problem, here's the answer. Like, their dialogue was just the answer. It was never like, well, how do we get
in the bathtub here?
Yeah.
Put all the rocks in the bathtub. Oh my god, now it's a slide.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a big issue for me. And even like I wanted to note on the thing you talking about, the no humor. Harrison Ford is a big part of the humor in the old films. His physicality is what gives us the Indy that we know. Like, there's a certain way he moves and does things. It's very slapstick how he does certain movements. And being old is kind of hard to do that kind of stuff. Harrison Ford has broken some bones through some real flight moments in life. He can't move the same way he used to.
Yeah.
So we lose a bit of that. And Phoebe Waller-Bridge, no offense to her, I think she's very funny in her own right. And her show Fleabag, she's phenomenal. I felt that's who we got here. We just got Fleabag in Indiana Jones. And that doesn't necessarily work for Indy's world. Her sense of humor doesn't work.
About Fleabag. This is a good show. It's on Amazon or something.
Yeah, I've watched like half of the first season so far. It's not a bad show. It's good, decent British humor, and it's very self-deprecating kind of humor.
Oh, okay. It's a British show then.
Yeah. She's thinking her
like, I'm out.
And I'm out.
I like British humor. I'm just trying to gather everything.
Yeah. Like the dirtbag she is in this movie is who she is in that show. The only difference is the show gives her the opportunity to have some kind of relatability and some kind of I guess pity upon who she is. Like you understand why she is this way. In this, it's just like, oh, you're just a piece of shit for no reason. And there is no redeeming qualities about you whatsoever.
She's good to have him die, and then like 20 minutes later, all of a sudden she's trying to rescue him.
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, what did he do? Like, why did you hate him this much? Like, I understand you're drawn about the money, but you were very willingly letting him to die. I don't understand.
He was her second dad that didn't show up.
God, it's so lame. Man.
I've never felt that bad about a godparent in my life.
No,
honestly, I have godparents. I haven't spoken to my godfather in like probably 30 years. And you know what? He's still a great guy.
Right?
Yeah.
He let me pet his pet alligator. He's an awesome dude.
If anybody lets
your godfather's a pet alligator,
they're good.
Yeah, he's a pretty awesome guy.
I think
pretty badass.
Most folks that have pet alligators are on some second level shit. So I think maybe your godfather is okay. Your godfather's a great guy. Yeah, we'll just say that so we don't talk. So we don't meet the alligator. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. How
even the guy in Crystal Skull, who's the turncoat, who the double agent, I forget his name, but like he's got more redeeming qualities than she does in this film. And that's weird because it's just like, this guy is the most cartoony of all the Indiana Jones characters.
Yeah.
And she just somehow surpasses him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Her character sucks, is what I've been saying.
It does. I didn't like her either. You know, again, it's not the actress, it's the character. I just didn't like the quick turnaround on her character. All of a sudden she was saving him and she completely goes from one spectrum to the other in a short amount of time. But Antonio
Does that mean she did a
Banderas,
great job then? Because we're not supposed to like her, I feel.
I think we're supposed to. I think they're supposed to be passing the
Are we?
mantle to her.
Okay.
That's what
Well,
I
then she's-
felt. I
Yeah,
felt like
the idea
her and
is that
Teddy-
she's supposed to be the new Indiana Jones.
Yeah. So I think that's why they failed at that.
Yeah.
Antonio Banderas was so wasted in this film, man.
Wasted.
Wasted.
Fantastic
me,
and wasted.
Yeah, it made me think that that it was a throwaway character, and then they casted him, and all of a sudden they had him in scenes. Like he's sitting there, like you see him like behind, like what is it, the steering wheel, and he's there just listening to their plan, and you see him just staring at them and doesn't even say a word. Like they just started throwing him in the background.
Yeah.
But like he didn't do anything. His character wasn't anything. He did, and then he just dies, and it's like what a waste. I was like excited to see Antonio Banderas in this movie, and for nothing.
That's every legit friend in the movie, whether it's a returning character or an old character. They give us the two new friends. They give us Antonio's character and then Helena's father. Two people who are just shoehorned in to this whole storyline. And it's like, well, they're new. I don't care about them. You're not giving me enough to care about them. And then they die. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And the one guy who matters, who is your name right now, Sala, he comes back just to be put away again.
Just to get them ice cream.
He begs to go on the adventure.
Yeah.
Like, bring me with you.
Bring him along.
I'm tired of raising 8 children. I need to be shot at, please. Oh my God. Rest in peace, Paul Walker.
That tells you what. The damn kids drove him crazy that he'd rather take bullets. I get it. I see it.
Yeah, for me, I feel that should have been the movie. It should have been him and Sala together. Like if it was Sala's kid and that kid was Indy's godchild, that would have made more sense. We've seen this guy in like 3 indie films. Like he's a staple at this point. Like why are we not using him? Don't give me the other guy who I don't care about, who you're just gonna kill.
Yeah. Okay, so what is your guys'
what else
favorite indie movie out of all of them? Like what is your favorite and what do you consider the best? It could be the same.
For me,
answer.
Last Crusade, favorite and the best.
Okay.
I've seen that thing probably 25 times, and that's not the most times I've seen a movie, but it's always there. If it's on, take the batteries out of the remote control, throw the remote control at the dog, and that's your day.
I don't know if it's because I just saw it, and it is the first one I saw in the theater. You know, when I was a kid, so it's definitely really up there. But I always feel like I got to give credit to the first ones of these things. So like Raiders, despite Crusade having the better ending, Raiders kind of just started it all. You know, it's where we get the introduction. So like I gotta give love to the first one. So I feel like for Star Wars, like A New Hope's gonna be better for or rank higher for you because without it, you don't get Empire. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I go with Raiders.
My favorite is Last Crusade, but I think Raiders is probably the better film. Just because his introduction is just so phenomenal and the way they set it up where
that thing still holds up.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And you don't see his face. Like they really built him as like this character where you see the bullwhip, you see the back of him, you see the shadows until he steps in. So great character introduction. That opening temple is still so iconic. But Last Crusade, the Sean Connery dynamic that they added just completely elevates it. And Sean Connery is so damn good. Him and Harrison Ford had that chemistry that I didn't know I needed. Like I needed it, and I go back to it so much, you know. And the Pedicin Man will pass. They have like the little tiny, like, even
it's
that
adorable.
Whole thing. Yeah, man, like it's so good. And like you have to, you know, you throw the sand and you take the invisible bridge, and it's so good, man. So that's where I kind of rank on them.
So I feel like all 3 of us agree that the original trilogy is still the best trilogy. I feel like most of us are talking about The Last Crusade being the best one. If that is the case, then obviously Raiders is part 2, followed by Temple of Doom. Where are we with 4 and 5? Is part 5 better than part 4?
I have to say yes, because even though 4 had some funny moments that I wish 5 had, the ending of 4 was so freaking god awful. It kills so much of that movie. If you combine 4 and 5 and gave us a better third act, we have a decent indie movie.
I'm on the polar opposite end of you. I feel that
okay.
4 is the better movie and had the better ending as compared to 5.
Fascinating.
And it's because 4 is first, we haven't really talked about this, but the action set pieces. The action set pieces of 4 still felt like Indiana Jones. Spielberg understands that you have to hold the camera a little bit longer on a moment so you can actually experience and feel what's happening. Mangold did not get that with this film. There's too many jump cuts within like the first car chase scene we get. Things are happening so fast you don't get to really understand. It's like I'm watching Jason Bourne. You know, it's like, what is this? This is not Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones, I get to see everything. Everything's there in front of me. Even if we're on a green screen, at least I'm seeing it happen. You know, that's important to me. At the end, Indy gets to make a choice still. You know, there's still choices for Indiana Jones, even if it is the choice to let things just play out and let them just be. That's still a choice that he's making. No one's making it for him. You know, like we got to see some sense of growth for him, whether it's with him and Marion, him and Mutt. You know, there was good closure. That marriage scene, while it still felt forced, it was a sense of closure for him. And I felt like, okay, we could end here. I don't need to see anymore. While with this, it's like, it didn't make, like you said, it didn't make sense her coming out of nowhere. You guys were getting a divorce. You know, if you're getting a divorce from someone, you don't care if they're going to die. You know, everything in this, it was too quick. It was too punchy from the action scenes to the ending.
It's true. Like 4 definitely serviced the character more. I think the 5, the storyline was just a little more interesting to me, but the swinging monkey scene and then just the aliens, seeing the flying saucer and then watching Indy looking at the flying saucer, to me, I'm just watching it and it's like, in my knowledge of Indiana lore, like that is not it, man. Like Indiana Jones looking at a UFO, like, I'm sorry, that's not Indiana Jones. It just, it was
they're not
so
aliens.
jarring.
They're interdimensional beings.
It's just, it was
they
just
never
so
said the
jarring,
word aliens
man.
in the movie.
Yeah, you're right. It's so damn jarring to me. Is those moments, but it was close. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was close to being good. That's what just pisses me off.
They should have stopped at part 3. And then we should stop.
Yeah.
And the fans are the worst for this.
Them. Or recast them if you need to. Like, I don't freaking care. I mean, like, they did it to 007, and we're so past the stigma of, there's going to be a sequel to this great movie. They've been doing it so damn much. I'm like desensitized by it now. Just freaking recast them and give us young Indy. Like, that's what I want. Give us younger Indy.
Like, I would sincerely not care if young Indiana Jones had 2 separate adventures that kind of crisscrossed. Okay, like, wait, how could he be here if he was there in this story? But he was there, but who gives a shit? All right, this is a fun adventure movie. It's based on old time serials. I think the fans are the worst part of this, and fans are usually the worst part of everything, and that sucks. Fans, do better. Okay, let's be better about this.
True, but it's also the filmmakers listening.
I was like,
right? The studios, Disney,
right?
Like, do better.
Sure,
right?
I agree.
Disney hasn't written a good film in a while.
Yeah, Kush, you got to give us your answer. You going 4 is better?
4 is better. No, 5 is better. 5 is better than 4.
Okay.
Yeah, hooray, 4th place.
Long distance, distance. They lapped you. That's why, like, we're arguing over bullshit, essentially. Which one stings less? Like, and at this point, it's a
Kenya across the finish line, but Iceland is almost there, baby. Let's go.
Exactly. Yeah, George, like, you're completely right about your assessment. Like, it really is. Is the character service better? Do you go kind of with the story? Like, there's no wrong answer necessarily with this, because there's no right answer. That's why there's no wrong answer.
It's like, do you want to lick the balls, lick the taint? I don't want to lick either one, if I'm be honest.
I don't want to, but if I had,
oh my goodness. You guys, this Friday night is definitely wilder than mine. Holy shit.
It is when you just watch Indy 4.
Yeah.
Well, you need that distraction. You need that distraction. I get it.
Okay, so Kush, so why 5 though, for your reasons? Why is 5 a little better?
5 is a little bit better because it's James Mangold. It's a different perspective. It's still an Indiana Jones film, but it doesn't look like a video game. That's my biggest complaint. Is everything is green screen and underdeveloped in part in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. All right. I don't give a shit about the aliens. I'm cool with Harrison Ford interacting with aliens, but this this was better. And despite the fact that the runtime is the longest runtime, and while I would love it to be an hour shorter, I still went like, no, we still got another hour to do this. Like we gotta fix this shit. When it ended, I was like, that's how you're ending it? My hamstrings started cramping up. I needed to like stand up and do a little trot to fucking get that shit straight. But I still was like, we're not done here. This is an incomplete movie. So
Yeah.
Maybe 5 is the worst then by that standpoint. But
I don't know.
I
That's
liked
what
it
I'm
more
Bring
than
saying.
it on. Yeah,
Crystal.
4 was better.
Yeah, it's like we're kind of contradicting our
Yeah.
own points, but the more we talk about it, like it's hard to say. But
Yeah.
if they really, really want Harrison Ford, just give us animated freaking Indiana Jones movies. Then I don't care. It doesn't
I can
have
get
to be
behind
live
that.
action. I would watch animation. You know what I mean? Like if you do it like like if you give us the same quality of like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, like give us some really good animation, man, of Indy. You can still use Harrison Ford's voice if you want. You know, of course, I want live action.
That's a
but
very
whatever.
limited shelf life, but still, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not an impossibility.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why you get voice actors for. There's impersonators for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. And they
Just-
have so much of his audio, like what they did with James Earl Jones, whatever. Like you can still keep
Yeah.
replicating. Just do that with
Ooh.
Indy, man. You can literally do that. So whatever.
And that's my point. It's like it's from the same company. It's owned by Disney. It's
Yeah.
all the same company.
yeah.
Yes.
It's like if Disney could take Darth Vader's voice and bring it back, why are we not doing that with Harrison Ford?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Do the whole face swap thing with like a stand-in actor, add the voice in and post. There you go. There's Harrison Ford as
Honestly.
Indy.
We'll close this off. We've talked about bringing back Indy in a better way. Who would each of you guys cast to be as a new Indy?
Man. See, that's
Yeah,
hard.
That's the
because
hard questions.
I know
That's
they
hard
had
today.
they
Yeah.
did. And I know a popular one like years back was Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
And he's got the
Mhm.
charisma.
He's
But
fine.
do you really believe him though as a professor? Like, does he necessarily come across as that? That's the reason I was kind of hesitant.
Yeah,
We're like, is he
yeah.
gonna come off as super intelligent? I don't know, but you could have also said the same thing about
His
Harrison
eyes are
Ford back
just
then.
big enough that you're like, this guy's a moron. It's all based on the eyes. Like this guy's just I believe everything. Yeah, and that's the character he's created for himself. Damn.
Yes, it
Who would
is.
be
And
the
now
new
he's
Indiana
kind of
Jones?
too older. Yeah.
It might have to be a new dude, but just for the fact of saying, I'm going to say Henry Cavill. Make
Okay.
Henry Cavill the new Indiana Jones.
Chris Pine wouldn't be bad. Chris Pine's got some
Ooh.
charisma to him. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I like him.
He was great in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, and also as James T. Kirk. Like he was good in Star Trek. Like he kind of
I
had a
love
little
Star
bit of
Trek.
that. Yeah, I just rewatched the trilogy not that long ago, and he's got that little swag to him. That action, little comedy that I think he can do it.
I'd actually go with. I didn't have an answer for this before I asked this question. It just came into my mind as we're talking.
Yeah.
You
But I think I would go with Matt Bomber.
Who's that?
Matt
Yeah,
Bomber was in a show
familiar.
called White Collar or Blue Collar? White Collar.
Mm,
White Collar.
Okay, well, no, it's White
Okay.
Collar. It's on USA.
Yeah.
yeah.
It tried to follow the coattails of Burn Notice, and I was just like, I don't give a shit about these bankers. Fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it
He
wasn't
did a
bankers.
movie,
He
though,
was he was a
didn't he?
con artist.
Oh,
White Collar
he
was
did
a
a
con
movie
artist.
though.
I'll
didn't
take
he?
your word for it.
Yeah, I've seen
You're
him
talking
in
about Suits. I think that's what you're
something.
talking about. Suits was like whatever that is.
Mm.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt Bomber was in White Collar. He was also in the Magic Mike series as one of the stripper dudes.
Didn't see it.
he's a really charismatic guy.
I could ask Chuck about that.
Yeah,
See
Chuck.
how he
Chuck
did it
will
now.
know what I'm talking about.
Chuck will know.
But no, White Collar is a good show. Definitely check it out. The idea of it's this con man, and he ends up working with like this big like federal agent and everything, and he kind of helps him with other people while he's helping him find these other con artists. He's also still pulling a con behind his back at every turn through the whole series. So in turn, like he has to be very charismatic because he's always being charming to get his way through certain situations. But I feel like he has the right look. He's still young enough. Like we pull it off, Plus, he's not, as you can see, he's not as known as everyone else. So he kind of has a little bit more of freshness to him still.
Kind of blend in a little bit.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because I feel like if you have too big of a name, then that name can get in the way.
Before we go, guys, can we all agree that let's stop pretending that Ki Kwan, short round from Temple of Doom, has been eating out of garbage bins for the last 5 years? Okay, that's been the narrative for the Oscars up until last February, last March. Okay, like I'm sure his career didn't go the way he wanted it to, but he's been working, and even if he was working at the Five and Dime or the Pack and Save or whatever, like he still had a job, and sometimes that's just life. All right, I saw a thing like Ki Kwan lost his medical insurance last week. Like, all right, I'm sorry to hear that, but he's going to be doing a lot better now. But
Yeah.
shit,
Yeah.
sometimes it just goes that way.
They have to sell a story to win that award, right? They
Yeah.
all got stories.
How good
Yeah.
would a movie have been if part 5 was just him and Indy going on an adventure together?
Man, I would have taken that in a heartbeat over what
Right?
we got. I would have taken
And that
I saw
that
a
would have been
meme
earned.
saying
Short round saving Indiana Jones in perilous
Yes.
situations. We're like, all right,
Yeah.
I can
that
get
would have
behind
been
that.
dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been
I'd
dope.
take that. Yeah. I don't know why
I
they
saw
did.
a meme saying, "Let's start a new Indiana Jones series with short round." And I was like, he'd be like 45 now. Yeah, I wouldn't be against that. Let's
Yeah.
do that. That'd be great.
Throw it on Disney Plus. Make it a little mini series or
Hell
something.
yeah.
You know. Yeah. Like
Guarantee
6
it'll get
episodes.
watched. Guarantee it.
Guaranteed it'll be watched,
1000%.
man. Yeah. I'd watch it because you saw them like hugging and you see like the photos and stuff. Those I was halfway hoping that he was gonna make some kind of small appearance like the way Solid did. Like I thought we were gonna get something.
It was set up. Everything was
Yeah.
set up in life for that to happen, and it didn't.
Right.
Yeah. So you know what? That's why they ruined. That's why part 5 sucked. He didn't have short round
Yeah.
in it.
All right, now
That's
part
the only
4 is
reason.
better than part 5. Fuckers.
All right. Well, with all that being said, this was another strong start. Thank you for following us. Thank you for watching. But if you're not following, what are you doing? Hit
Yeah.
that follow button. Hit the notification bell. Otherwise, how are you gonna know a bonus episode came out like this one? Do yourself a favor. Follow. Do some comments. Because I'm not gonna comment unless you comment. Those are facts. You
We
can
can't
follow
comment
us-
on our own video.
You can follow us on
You
Twitter
can't.
or Instagram at Not a Strong Start. Today, I was your host, Nicolopoulos. Where can they follow everyone else?
I am Sala. You can follow me at King_Sangre.
I am Yreka Jones, and you can follow me at Kush_Hayes on Twitter, which will probably implode within the next few weeks.
So go over the threads. And what show can we
I'm
see?
getting too old for social media.
Mhm.
I'm going to plug the Waffle Box, the original Waffle Box. It's the best part of Wednesdays. You accept no substitutions, and it comes from the future home of Super Bowl 60. It's the people's podcast, and that's why you accept no substitutions.
If
Oh.
you smell